Other interesting political news, you have Nikki Haley critiquing TikTok for being basically Chinese spyware, but her daughter is overwhelmingly popular on the app. And this comes thanks to Nikki Haley on the Twitter, or again, as 12 people call it, on the X. And she is having an interview with Fox News. And she got about 131,000 views on this particular tweet. And she says before the video, quote, "China uses TikTok to steal our information and push anti-American filth," unquote. Which, on its face value, I think a lot of people would agree with. Now, the only real debate, or I think the bigger debate, is how do we address that issue? Do we straight up just ban the app because it's basically Chinese spyware, as well as just mentally assisting in the morally and mental vacuization of brains from children by giving them nonsense and filling their heads up with trash, as opposed to in other countries where it's actually used as a tool to make the kids smarter and patriotic? I think that's one of the biggest red flags, pun not really intended because of the Chinese flag, of the threat of TikTok. It operates completely differently based on where it is at. In China, it makes the kids, they tell the kids it's cool to be a doctor or a scientist, to get into STEM. It tells the kid, now it's time to go to bed, it's getting late. It tells the kid China's a great country. That's what the app is telling the Chinese children. In the United States, it's quite the antithesis. In the United States, only until very, very recently, it never had an off button for kids in terms of there's no restrictions on the time usage. And it just pushed the uttermost nonsense crap out there and really just glorifying mental diseases. And their kids actually developing tics from this. So they had instances where you have a TikTok star or celebrity where they would have a nervous tic, or they'd have like a little issue where, I forget the scientific term, but they have an instance where they would have a little tic. And these kids would develop it because they were watching it. It is hugely detrimental, especially for children. Now, I think her methodology of trying to fix the situation is perhaps where she loses a lot of the traction. But let's go ahead and we'll play the clip.
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to be honest with them. You don't tell them this is what we're going to do and not explain why. The reason we want to ban TikTok, and yes, I think we need to ban it, is because it's an app that actually goes and has access to your contacts, to your financial information, to your camera, to your recorder, to everything. It's infiltration. We know that. It's also...
Not saying she's missing the point or missing the message or she's not accurate, but it's just one of those issues where, yes, but that's pretty much every app ever, which is why I actually would be in favor of some type of initiatives where the terms and conditions for an app, or any legislation at all, should be able to fit on a single piece of paper and be of the language where the average person could interpret it. Is that ever going to become reality? I suspect not, but I think a lot of people would find benefit in that. I think a lot of people would agree with that type of idea.
If you look at the fact that the bin Laden letter was just put on TikTok that he wrote a week after 9/11, and it justifies why they did what they did on 9/11, that's trying to influence young voters. I think young voters, when you tell them the truth, they will understand. There's a reason India banned TikTok. There's a reason Nepal just this past week banned TikTok, because they saw the social disruption that was happening by foreign actors. And I think we need to do that. What we want social media to do is be a force where they can have freedom of speech, but not have foreign intrusion in the process. And what we're seeing is a lot of foreign intrusion that's trying to cause distractions, divisions, and chaos in America. That's the part we're trying to stop. And so we want them to have, the ability to do that, but we don't want it on dangerous apps. It's actually going to hurt them as opposed to allowing them to do what they want to do, which is communicate and get their views out.
So, not her worst speech. A couple good points, maybe. I wonder, does the average person agree with her? Or is the comment section, will the comment section all adore her and give her accolades? Or will she achieve the rare phenomenon known as the Chris Christie effect, which, not to brag, but I did coin that term, a mathematical phenomenon in which literally zero people agree with the original tweet, which happened multiple times when we looked at Chris Christie's tweets where not a single person actually said something favorable to his original statement, which begs the question, where's his family and his staff, his campaign staff, because supposedly they exist, and you would think they'd say something positive about him in those types of tweets, but nevertheless, fascinatingly enough, there's instances where there's not a single positive response. So let's dive in and find out. Someone by name of I Abject says, quote, "She doesn't care about any of this until Americans use TikTok to say mean things about Israel, quote, or parentheses, her major donor, unquote. I got 289 likes. Words are words, says, quote, your daughter uses it, you're such a clown and a warmonger, unquote. That got 393 likes. Save Falstein says, quote, Indians, quote, you use X to push misinformation about Israel war propaganda for your own financial gain, unquote. That got 185 likes. Let's see here. Good old advertisements. Someone by the name of Nate says, quote, that's why we're going with Ron DeSantis, unquote. And it looks like is a picture of Joseph Stalin, a couple of the Chinese dictators, Karl Marx, and it has Nikki Haley on the end. That got 26 likes, and even more of a rare occurrence, we found a DeSantis fan in the wild on social media. There's some that speculated kind of like Bigfoot. They exist, but you never really documented the instance. I better make sure to take a screenshot right now. Let's see here. Scrolling through the other comments on this particular post from Nikki Haley. Someone by the name of Hasso Kool-Aid, I won't say he gets an F, but D- for marketing. He neither has the emoji for the Kool-Aid man, which I don't know if that exists, but the profile picture is not of Mr. Kool-Aid. What a shame. Now, this alleged Kool-Aid, perhaps he's a man who wears a costume, but nevertheless, alleged Kool-Aid says, quote, there is currently no concrete evidence to suggest that China has been using TikTok as a platform to steal information. Security concerns have been raised, but it's essential to rely on credible information and data when discussing these issues. Stay informed and cautious about data privacy is a vital in the digital age. Now, interestingly enough, they got 54 likes. All right. Interesting. Pretty much an antithesis or contrast to every IT article I've read about TikTok. Now, implausible deniability says, quote, we don't and won't support you telling us what social media we can and can't use. You are the worst candidate this round, even worse than Mike Pence. Stop pretending like you have a real campaign and go away. Maybe take a weekend with Liz Cheney, unquote. I got 24 likes. Jimmy Walker says, quote, you gave land to China, unquote, getting 43 likes. American Rebel says, quote, ironically, so does the U.S. government, unquote, getting 87 likes. Tyler Sitstill says, quote, every tech company does this, unquote, got 46 likes. Which, again, to make her speech more compelling, she should have said the big differentiators between the average tech companies and the ones that is TikTok, which is, again, it's owned by ByteDance, which is, again, the Chinese government is plugged into every private businesses over there. It's basically a direct relationship. The joke in IT is there's not even a firewall between the government and actual businesses over there. Firewall, IT joke for the folks in IT watching the show. But, yeah, she should have been much more articulate in that regard. Someone by the name of Jim New says, quote, if you believe Nimrata wants to ban TikTok because she cares about your privacy, you're part of the problem. Next, they'll come for X. They'll say you're misogynistic and anti-Semitic app, unquote. Got 84 likes, and it's already coming to fruition as you have Media Matters attacking Elon Musk, and most major businesses starting to withdraw their funding for advertisers on Twitter, claiming it's anti-Semitic. So perhaps a little bit of truth in that tweet from that gentleman. Let's see here. Jess Isn't Jaded did a picture of Vice Media, and it is an article which they say TikTok says it's not the algorithm. Teens are just pro-Palestine, unquote. Got 69 likes. A lot of people saying Nikki Haley would be a great president for China. So, let's see here. Let's see. A lot of people calling her by the other name. So, as youth might say, she was viscerally ratioed, as I, again, have only found one or two positive statements, with most of these being contrary to her and pretty much roasting her. And half the comments saying, doesn't your daughter use it? It got 9 likes. Scary Election Dyer says, yet your daughter still uses it. Your campaign is joking. 7 likes. A lot of similar comments. So again, will this help push her in the polls? No. I think Vivek was much more articulate when it comes to the TikTok debate, and he noted how we should be looking into all these IT companies and specifically have a specific policy about data moving to China and have that part of the terms and conditions. And that would not just put a band-aid on the issue, which, again, don't get me wrong, TikTok is a huge, I believe, is a national security risk. I think there's a lot of issues with that particular app. But a lot of companies that aren't TikTok also exfiltrate and send their data to China. Famously, a couple months ago, it was noted how Airbnb sends all their information to China. So if you rent a bedroom in Nebraska, China knows for reasons. Well, data is king. We do live in a data age. But again, I think a much more articulate way to address the issue, not just the symptom of the issue, would be his methodology where he talk about all the tech terms, applications, all these apps, terms of service. But let me know in the comments. It'd be interesting. Will this increase Nikki Haley in the polls for the Republican nominee, or will just kind of keep her about the same? Be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in. Again, have a happy Thanksgiving. Especially want to thank you for taking the time to tune in today. Don't forget to take the time to subscribe. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of November. So if you click that button, I would greatly appreciate it. Also, any comments are greatly appreciated because I want to make the channel better and better, and your feedback is appreciated, even if it's harsh critique, because I argue that is how you grow the most. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.